Good day, fellow deal makers. Welcome to the Deal Scout. As we're hunting for deals, we typically find them through people. Isn't that crazy? So this show is about deals and deal makers. The purpose of this is to put deals and deal makers together. So as you're listening in and one of our guests says something that resonates with you, connect with them. All their contact information is down below in the doodly doos, whatever the show notes down below. Connect with them and do a deal together. That's purpose, mission of the show. Now let's get on to it. Elliott, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. All right, Elliott, we just connect for the first time, maybe in a coffee shop or a bar, depending on what time of day it is. And I go, hey, man, who are you? What do you do? That's how we typically, introduce ourselves, right? So
Sure.
dive on in.
I'm a reformed engineer, Harvard MBA, that helps first-time buyers execute sort of transactions, business acquisitions of $5 million or less by leveraging sort of financial due diligence, which is typically quality of earnings, but helping with the deal coaching that is required for first-time buyers to get over the hump.
Got it. Get over the hump of the first business acquisition they may ever do. Now, as you're going through this, why did you choose this as a profession, as a way to go? Like, why first time, not home buyers, first time business buyers? Why?
A lot of reasons. They have the biggest need in the market and they're growing the fastest. So with books like Buy Them Build by Walker Dybel and the different entrepreneurship through acquisition classes at all different kind of schools, the growth is amazing. I worked in private equity and was an independent business buyer for 10 years. And I know my favorite business buyers have been doing this for 30 years. So when I think about someone who's going to be doing it for 3 to 18 months and still need to not only find a deal, diligence it, consummate it, but typically take a personal guarantee, they're in a sea full of sharks in a way they may not understand. And so Guardian is purposeful because it's sort of helping people and guarding them against getting had. We stop people from buying bad businesses. And I chose the first time buyers because once you do 5 or 6, there's other solutions that may be a bit lighter that you can sort of manage because you know more about the process. When it's your first time, you need extra help, and sort of having a deal person to manage the team of CPAs is a way more comfortable place for most business buyers than listening to discussions of EBITDA adjustments and working capital and accrual to cash accounting. I make sure it's always about the deal.
Yeah, got it. How'd you get into this business? Like you said, you did some private equity stuff in the back. Give us a background, give us an idea of how you got to where you are.
I think like most entrepreneurs, I kind of meandered, tried stuff until the skills that I had in the market kind of fit together. I came out of business school with all the folks that came out of Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns after 2007, 2008. So it was a pretty tough market to get into private equity. I found a spot at a firm that was really a family office that was buying companies, but they were able to present as a private equity firm because they had done almost $5 billion in transactions. And I realized sort of the whole name of the game in private equity is owning equity. So I quickly transitioned into an independent business buyer, self-funded searcher, independent sponsor. It's really hard to figure out where the lines are there. I sort of was checking out diligence providers for a while and just saw that the ones that I experienced weren't all that great. And when I saw more people coming into the market, I thought the solutions were less great for them than even for me because I had some deal experience. And so I started Guardian twofold. A, I enjoy helping people. B, I like making complicated financial things simple. And C, I don't like when people get had, particularly when they're putting up personal guarantees. That can really ruin a lot of things. And there's a lot of sharks that smile in these waters.
Yeah. Let's talk about sharks, right? I grew up surfing and, that was one of the things that you're nervous about as a surfer. You're worried about sharks that you cannot see. They're underwater and then they bump you and then they could bite you. I also worked in venture capital, right? Venture capitalist, vulture capitalist, and sharks, the world of sharks, the Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Talk to us about it in business. How could a first-time business buyer get had from a shark?
Well, the easiest way to explain it is a lot of folks are coming out of corporate experiences, right? So they're mid-career at Coke or a SaaS company doing marketing or an industrial company. And so they've been used to negotiations that are like plus 10%, minus 10%, HR is the referee, and very little sort of risk for absolute loss or sort of $1 million impact to a single entity. when you get into business acquisitions, you have a lot of parties around the table that are typically, 20 years older than my clients and have been doing deals for 30 years. So you have a broker, you have a seller, you have lawyers, you have CPAs, and these folks come from companies that have great brand names. They smile on their website. They all just talk about integrity and doing the right thing for customers. But if you know business is to maximize value for shareholders. So what ends up happening is people ascribe a certain integrity score to groups that may or may not be aligned interest-wise. And when they don't really understand how the lanes and sort of leverage points maneuver, they can get taken advantage of. And in this world, a shark can cost you $1 million and $1 million can cause you to default on a loan where somebody can, put you in a really bad spot. So for me, protecting folks against sharks is sort of helping people who may not have 30 years, call out participants who are not playing fairly in ways that don't come off as confrontational, right? Because I have some style points, but remind people who they are. So for instance, a lot of times we get on phones with brokers who will try to do endless add backs on EBITDA, just add back on add back. And they'll try to sort of shove it down my client's throat. And I'll say, hey, do you guys get paid a portion of the deal? Yeah, Elliott. Okay, so isn't it in your best interest to push up the add backs as much as you can to get a higher purchase price because it's a multiple of EBITDA? Yeah. And in that moment, my client understands very clearly who the broker is and can typically more easily combat some of the craziness that's coming from that direction.
Give us some examples of add backs that you see that maybe first time buyers may not catch.
Sure. And just for folks who may not be super familiar, when you go through the income statement and get to EBITDA, cash flow, profit, right? What ends up happening in private businesses is most owners run their business like a piggy bank. So their cars on it, their house, their travel, all their food, right? Those are reasonable add backs. But some unreasonable ones are, hey, that season ticket to the Atlanta Hawks, with all the food and the booze that comes in, that's not really a cost. That's just something I do personally. But then you look at the records and all of their clients were in that skybox and checking out the game. So it was a business expense that if you want to keep the revenue going, you're going to have to use. Or I had one the other week that was crazy. It was a digital marketing company with a bunch of digital marketing folks, 20-year, 30-year veterans, right?
Yeah.
So they said, hey, we screwed up on 30% of our marketing budget last year. And so we cut that out. Oh, no, we didn't cut it out. You can cut it out and not spend it. And so that should be an add back. So I'm asking them on the phone, I'm saying, hey, so experts, are you thinking that my client's going to be a more perfect marketing person than you? Aren't they going to make the same 30% mistakes? And it caught the guy like, so things like that, or employees that, sellers that say that they're not involved in the business, but you can't get a call with them between 9 and 5. And if you go visit them for a day, they'll be on their phone the whole time. So they're trying to add back their salary as if the business doesn't need it. And that's oftentimes not the case.
Yeah. We're seeing one of the largest transfers of wealth and businesses from baby boomers. They call it, silver tsunami or seller tsunami, or, we see this. So there's businesses that are going to start more and more transfers to private equity, to private buyers into this group. Now, how could a private buyer compete with a private equity company and go toe-to-toe with making sure that they get the right deal?
It happens all the time. So I was literally having this conversation yesterday. How does somebody compete? And the way they do it is, private equity groups tend to not do deals under $2 million of cash flow. So a lot of my clients are looking at deals that are below that. So they're not typically competing with private equity. However, for add-on acquisitions or for certain hot industries, they are. But the cool thing is that the word is pretty much out on private equity, shutting down locations, cutting employees, being nefarious in negotiations. And some sellers, I call them free people, they've built their lives, they paid mortgages, they put kids through school. They're not going to take a lot of stuff from a group like that. And so you can come in and say, hey, I'm not private equity. I'm a human. I want to buy a reasonable business from a reasonable person, and I want to do it fairly and efficiently. And if we can do business that way, I think you'll not only get paid, but you'll enjoy the process. And since we're going to have to work together after this, there's going to be some transition period. Enjoying each other is a component of this. And so when people go in like that, the other way they do it, Josh, if HVAC, right? So a lot of my clients do like HVAC companies, plumbing kind of similar, right?
Yeah.
And so you got some private equity spreadsheet junkie, knows everything and nothing at the same time. That's the private equity side sometimes. But you may have somebody that has a real estate portfolio that has procured plumbing and HVAC for large, pieces of the real estate, that may have a background in industrial blue collar stuff so they can manage the employees better. And when you go to a person that's dealt with blue collar employees for 30 years and had to put up their cash in their house at certain times to get this going, and you're saying, I'm gonna have to do the same thing, you can compete with the person, because the seller is looking for money, of course, but they're gonna go to a 3-month to 9-month process with you, the buyer. And if they like you, you can get a deal for a lower price than a private equity firm if you play your cards right.
Yeah. And I've seen businesses refuse to sell to a buyer, even though the price point was good, because they said, I care about my employees. These people have been with me. The average, tenure has been like 15 years, 20 years.
Right.
They're like, I care about my people. I'm not selling to these guys who are just going to come in and say, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone.
Right.
Right. So for sellers who actually, care about their people and such like that, yeah, they're interested in the dollar amount, but they're also about the legacy of their people, their relationships, their families, right?
Yeah, think about some of these smaller cities, 2 hours away from airports, right? Johnson City, North Carolina, whatever, right? And, Johnson Street Plumbing has been there for 60 years, second generation running it, right? And if they let some wacko buy this thing, who shuts it down or like really is tough on the employees, that family's still in that community. They're probably a staple of that community. Their customers probably know them. And so the implications for them to sell to a group that's going to be mean to employees has more than just financial implications for some folks. They're not going to do it to their friends or the people in their town. They got to go to the fair. They got to go to the golf outing. They got to eat dinner on Sunday at the Italian spot. And so it matters to some people.
It does. And, as you see this process, right, you came from a background of private equity and family office and a very, I'm looking at, your creds, your street creds, man, like Harvard, right? Like,
yeah,
your experience, and you've seen that industry. Why did you switch over to personal? Why did you switch over to private buyers rather than, stay in that game and do $100 million deals and $200 million deals, right?
Yeah, so all my friends think I'm crazy. Like I'm going to one of my reunions at Harvard Business School in June. And some of them laugh when I tell them the size deals I work on and who I represent. But when I got into it, the most fun stuff was dealing with everyday people. Like I got a bunch of fancy credentials, right? And I earned each and every one of them. But I came from like a middle of the road family, and I always enjoyed regular folks. When I'm in my social time, I'm dealing with people that, cut their own grass, clean their own house. And so two things pushed me into entrepreneurship and also into dealing with sort of private buyers. There's some things you can't wash off in the shower. So there's some things that you'll be forced to do and sitting inside of a private equity firm or a venture capital firm that is absolutely in line with maximum value for shareholders. But, you take 10 showers and you didn't get it off. And for guys like me and you, I think that matters. I'm just not going to do that. Also, I can't tell you the joy of a first-time buyer when they get through our quality of earnings process. And I tell them, hey, the numbers are plus or minus what the seller represented in the marketing material. I think you have a great chance of running this business. And sort of our diligence process is over. Like when you start to see these people on Zoom and hear them, these are families, these are husbands and wives. It matters to them personally. That's a $2 million personal guarantee that they're putting out. when I talk to my independent sponsor folks or my private equity folks, they don't pay for diligence themselves. And if it goes 10x, they get a piece of it. And they're not putting out a personal guarantee. So it's lovely speaking to the investment committee, the person that's putting the risk out there and taking the risk, and the person who, if you deliver a great service, it is personally going to show a joy that is hard to match in other things that I've done in my life.
Yeah. Some things that you cannot wash off in the shower, right? And, you know, being in the world of private equity, right, venture capital, and just in the investment world, and being in the business world, if you've been in it long enough, you realize that not everybody's playing by the same rules.
Yep.
You know?
And you can miss. So one of the things I've learned in business is before you listen to anyone or make any decisions, you need to know how the heavy parties at the table get paid.
How people get paid. That is such a great question. How do you get paid? Oh, you get paid by the size of the deal. Add back, right?
Exactly. You get paid by the hour. Minuscule thing becomes huge. Minuscule thing becomes huge. We're fixed fee because we don't deal that way. Yeah. We have a lot of buy-side brokers. So buy-side brokers work for the same company as the sell-side broker. So buy-side broker says on their thing that they work for the buyer. But aren't they working for the same company that gets a piece of the transaction on the sell side? And then they get a double fee as a percentage on the buy side. So they're really working for the fee. And so understanding that helps you understand if a totally self-interested person was motivated in this way, you'd know what they would do. And so it helps you think clearly around, if you're add back, and this person gets paid on every add back, then you should be able to tell them, hey, I can't trust you in this, you're conflicted. And those comments and negotiations help people, even without super knowledge, stop nefarious things from happening to them.
Yeah. All right, Elliott, I hate to tell you this, dude. Your building's on fire. There's a bookshelf behind you. You can only grab one book before you run out. What's the book or the resource? What is it going to be?
Easy. How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Why so?
I think it's the most fundamental book on talking and dealing and communicating with people. And that's all business is. You started the podcast saying that. And if you can, the crux of the book, and there's a whole bunch of chapters, I encourage you to read the whole freaking thing. But the crux of it is realize the world doesn't revolve around you, dummy.
Wow, what a huge boom, right?
Yes, revolutionary, right? And so if I'm speaking to Josh, I need to speak in Josh's interest. When I'm speaking to the seller, I need to speak in the seller's interest. When I'm speaking to my client, they don't care about the fact that you have to stay late. It's tough for you. Your margins are better if you can present things, even if it does benefit you, if you can present them in ways where they benefit other people or create scenarios where it benefits both you and them, so you can communicate that way. It changes your fundamental method of communication. It's not trying to get your goals through somebody and I'm pushing. It's offering a situation that benefits both parties. And once you can communicate with folks, it changes the game.
Yeah.
There's not a number in that book. And I'm a finance dude. And I said, without equivocation, that's the book.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it doesn't really talk about numbers that much, right? Using people's names, the law of reciprocity, like how to like gain interest in what they're doing. Ask question. Hey, how'd you feel about that? Dig 3 levels deep into things.
A person's name in any language is the most wonderful thing, Josh.
Thank you, Elliott. That's perfect job.
Yeah, the only way to win an argument is to stay out of it. Like simple stuff, you know?
Man, I should learn that with me and my wife. The only way to... You're right, babe, Anna. You know?
Yeah, some of this goes over into your social life too.
Totally.
Yeah.
So all right, so I've got 2 decks of cards.
Okay.
Orange deck, black deck. On it, there's questions, right? Topics and such like that. My head can only come up with a certain group. So pick a deck, and then I'm going to ask a question from it.
Orange.
All right, let's go orange. You ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. All right. So you find $20 on the sidewalk and you've got to spend it within 20 minutes. All right. What's the most fun you could have for $20?
Ooh,
Keep it PG. No, I'm just kidding.
oh, of course, yeah. No comment on that. I'd probably go to an ice cream shop
Yeah.
or some kind of candy shop and pay for $20 worth of people's stuff. I think there'd be a lot of smiles all around. I think I get a kick out of it, and I could tell a story to a bunch of folks. I think that'd be good.
Yeah, I like. What would you get? What's your favorite ice cream?
Ooh, Cherry Garcia.
Nice. A
Yeah,
Ben and Jerry's flavor.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
good. All right, back to deals. So as you're taking a look at something, right? You get paid by a prospective buyer who's looking at businesses, right? When they
Right.
come to you, what's the pain point that they're coming to you for, or what's that main thing that they're going, I need help, Elliot?
I am about to embark on a process where I'm going to put up $1 million personal guarantee to buy a business. I've never done it before, and I know it's complicated. Can you help me vet the business?
Mm.
That's the problem they have. That's what they're coming to me for. The stakes are high. Their knowledge is low. They respect my expert sort of ability in the area, and it's going to be fundamentally the largest transaction they've ever done, probably by at least 5 times.
So they come to you and they say, I need your help vetting a business. Now, do they typically have a target in mind already, or they go, hey, we're in the process, we're going to look?
So both happen. So if you come to my website, a lot of folks are just looking, getting started, and we have a lot of great material there to consume and sort of get educated. And the other set of folks that are a little bit further down the line have sent a couple of letters of intent, have negotiated a couple of deals, and they're probably weeks, months away from having a seller accept their offer. And so the ideal scenario is somebody's kind of been hanging out in our ecosystem, getting our stuff, and then they find a deal, the seller accepts their offer, and they're able to really easily set up a phone call and get started on the quality of earnings. And it wasn't like our first time meeting. They've already gotten to hear me on podcasts, read my writing. And so that's typically it. But like the community of folks that sort of are in the Guardian ecosystem span from I started looking yesterday. I had a call like that yesterday. And then people who have been doing it for 5 or 10 years and are still trying to figure it out. So
Got it. Now, let's just say you and I engage, 40 years old, I got a wife and 3 kids. I got 2 businesses already, and I'm looking to make an acquisition, like a
yep,
massive acquisition. I bootstrapped my own businesses, but I'm looking to do an add-on or something like that, or even just something separate in the ecosystem. And I come to
sure,
you and I go, hey, man, I need your help. I haven't started the process yet for looking.
sure.
Like, so in that scenario, how do you walk someone like me through the process?
Sure. So there's two pieces of that. So admittedly, we don't do deal sourcing for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is just it's a bit transactional and we're very relationship oriented. And so we tried it and we didn't like the long-term impactation. So what I do is if you're just starting, I'm saying, hey, people have a huge level of formality around letters of intent and they think that they can look at 10 deals and find one to close. I'm going to tell you, you need to look at 50 to 100. And if it's decent, you should send a letter of intent because the stuff that you see in the marketing materials may be 40% off. And so if it's within 40% of what you think you're willing to pay, go for it. Don't hesitate. Send the freaking letter of intent and continue to come back. If you have questions, you can email me. You can also go to offerfromelliott.com. I'll review any letter of intent, help you on a company evaluation. And so the first part is like, go find the deals and I can give people websites and sources and tell them to go to, different websites to get started. You can always sort of come back and have active offers reviewed by me. I do that all the time, every week, every day. And then hopefully one gets accepted and now we're in diligence. And now what I'm trying to do is help you understand how to structure a deal, trying to help you understand how to vet a business, and then help you understand how to go through the process of buying it so that you can buy something that grows and creates return. So there's kind of 2 phases. It's the, hey guy, go quicker to get deals signed up because you need live at bats. And then once you have a deal set up, then hey, let's just walk you through the process. So it's kind of 2 phases if you're just starting.
Yeah. So, man, that active offer, active deal review, it's so valuable looking at things and hearing like from your perspective, because you've probably reviewed
Thousands.
thousands, a lot more than me, right? At least on the business acquisition side. So you probably reviewed a lot more. So seeing you do that live, and you're like looking through, and you're looking through the P&L and all that other, 3-letter acronyms, and you're looking through the
Right.
stuff, and you're like, hey, Josh, look at this.
Yes.
Holy
Yes.
moly, that would have cost you $1,000,000.
Yes. Yes. Like the other day, I'm looking through an offer from a client, and the business has a bunch of experts in the industry, and you look at the salary of the top 5 people, and they're $60,000.
What?
How are experts 20 years into an industry that's a professional service industry making only 60K? I don't even need to know them or speak to them. I know that's false. So you need to adjust for that in your offer. We go through that every day. Or, hey, they're adding back inventory to net income to get EBITDA plus inventory and trying to hide it. Or they're putting a PPP loan into other income and trying to add a multiple to that. Don't listen to it. Don't even play into it. Take it out and put your offer differently. So I have those conversations all the time. I had 5 of those last week. I'll even do Loom videos to help people sort of be able to see it in living color, if you will, even if I can't get on the phone with them.
Remember that show in Living Color, by the way?
Yes.
You just brought
Yes.
that up. Great show. Holy moly.
Great show.
Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx, they got their starts doing
Yes.
that kind of stuff. So good.
Yes. The whole Wayans family. I mean, it's just
Yes.
amazing to think about how they did a thing with that show.
That was so fun. I wasn't allowed to watch it, because I was grew up super religious family, but every once in a while I'd sneak in an episode. That and Mad TV. So that
I had a Homie the Clown poster on my wall as a kid.
Homie the Clown doesn't mess around. Homie, don't play that.
Homie, don't play that.
I hit you with the sock with the ball in it.
That's right. That's right.
Holy moly. How old are you? That just dated us. I'm 40.
I'm 38.
I'm older than you. I'm your elder.
You are. You are. You deserve all of the respect due to
right.
my elder. Yeah.
That's right. Great show, by the way. All right. So let me ask you, when it comes to, all right, so we're looking at, some deals, and you're like, Josh, you probably need to look at about 100 deals, right? You got to look at a bunch of stuff. At what point do I engage you, like in terms of like, hey, Elliott, here's my money. Here's the retainer or the service fee,
Sure.
or however you price it.
Sure.
When does that happen in the deal?
Yeah. So most people within the first 3 to 9 months of them searching sort of ingest, right, are going to find an offer. They're going to send an offer to a seller that's going to accept it. We call it a letter of intent. Again, all this fancy language. It's an offer to a seller that they accept, and it's in your hands. So that's at the point people typically engage with me is like a week before they're going to send a letter of intent, because they're going to offerfromelliott.com. They're getting their offer reviewed. They're getting their company valuation reviewed. We're talking. So we get to know each other in that context, right? They send it, the seller accepts it, and then we get engaged. So that's when they pay me. That's when we get going. We run a 4-week due diligence process from when we get the data, and we are efficient in that. And that's really how it goes. And then some folks keep us engaged. So we have some premium products that help people. Like we even have like done for you diligence, where some folks say, hey, Elliott, I'm working a full-time job and I got a wife and 3 kids. If you can do this for me, I'd rather pay you a little bit extra to take it off my plate. So that's another way they engage, but that's how it happens, Josh.
Yeah. So, all right. So I engage you and I say, dude, I just need a crap ton of work. I'm busy over here, but I do want to acquire something. I don't want to be the main operator. I want to acquire something, plug in the right people. And
Sure.
I need your help. And this, Elliott, I suck at all the details of life, right? Like all the little thing. I'm a visionary. I'm a sales guy. I'm out there on the front end. So you can go, okay, I've got this premium thing that I could take it off your plate. Like, so are you going to look at those 100 deals with me? Are you going to help me review that? And you're going to say, hey, Josh, based on your criteria, this might be one that fits.
So typically what happens on that is someone will engage me and they'll still sort of be looking, right?
Yeah.
So they'll have one letter of intent that they've sent, so they're engaged, and then that letter of intent won't get accepted. And so we're kind of looking at other deals. So I will help them review deals to retain me. If they're looking through their 100, the top 10% we'll talk through. If you say that you are busy and aren't a details person, I tell you, you met your ideal partner. I may smile a lot and crack jokes, but I am meticulous in details and numbers. And so we'll just go through that process, and then it'll be quality of earnings, right? Which are numbers, profit, working capital. But I'll be talking you through things like, hey, they elect to like make purchases that go to inventory versus cost of goods sold. And I'll just tell you that they don't have good enough records on it. So you should really look at that number. Or they have inventory in this business. Before you close, you should go count that inventory. Or they have a lot of churn in employees, and you need to go check and see if the folks that are there are really going to stay. So what you end up getting is sort of a white glove service where I'm sort of using my private equity head and independent sponsor head to sort of read between the lines on some of this stuff. And then we package it up so you spend a half hour, an hour a week, and I just give you the cliff notes. So you can go manage your vision, have your conversations, feel completely covered, because we have, hundreds of pages of backup, but we're going to give you these 5 bullet points to go execute and make decisions on.
So you work a lot with messy visionaries like me.
All the time. In fact, 90% of my clients are first-time buyers, and to come to me, you need to have a vision, a risk appetite, and a strong heart. So most of my clients fit that bill. And some are just, they have a lot of money, they're busy doing things, but they want to do this as well. And if they can find someone to take that stuff off their hands, it's almost like a private equity transaction for them. If I can get a deal team to go diligence my deal and feel comfortable with the decision, why not? I can still stay in the Bahamas and sip coladas and be on my boat.
I like coladas. What's your drink of choice?
Ooh, currently old fashions.
Really?
Yeah, Basil Hayden.
I like basil. So I like basil on rocks. Great drink. Basil Hayden's nice. Yeah. I've been on a tequila kick where it's just like Malaga ice or something like that.
My girlfriend loves tequila, soda, lime, so I drink that sometimes when I'm out with her.
Why? What do they call that?
I don't even know what they call it. She used to drink tequila and tonic. She's just a tequila gal.
Yeah.
And then she realized how many calories were in the tonic and just switched to the soda and the limes to kind of.
As we get older, we have to watch our calories and the carbs and the sugars and crap like that.
Right. So,
yeah.
It's like calculated fun. You gotta pick your battles.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like that. I usually do if I'm gonna do soda, like vodka soda lime or vodka Mio. Mio's good with some vodka and water.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I like vodka soda as well. Tito's is kind of my go-to. I've been doing a lot of IPAs just because they get so cool in taste, and a lot of these craft breweries are pretty funky and fun to check out. So I've been doing some of those too.
Some IPAs, huh? Some IPAs. IPAs. Yeah, they're not bad. All right, back to deals. So as I, let's just say, we've looked at 100 and you're like, all right, top 10%, these are the ones that we really need to dissect.
Yes.
When we're dissecting a deal, you told me about some of the things that we're looking for. What's a massive red flag that you're like, Josh, not only throw this deal away, but stay away from that person?
So a lot the real red flags where I tell clients to run, you don't find out in week 1. Mm-hmm. So what tends to happen is you'll get a package of data that we're reviewing together, right? Mm-hmm. And what I'm doing in the back of my head is taking the main facts that the seller says, which is different than what the broker says, and just capturing them in my head or in notes. The first time a seller tells a malicious mistruth, where they said one thing on Monday and said the complete opposite on Friday, and not like a guy who drives trucks who makes a mistake about EBITDA multiples. But if this is a truck guy for 30 years and he tells you the truck is this way on Monday, I got 10 trucks on Monday and it's 30 on Friday or something kind of that nature, that's when I tell sellers to run. If there's any sort of distrust or malicious mistruths, you have to run, because the thing here is most people deal with integrity, right? Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, a seller selling a business probably has the highest motivation of anyone to tell a story. Well, why, Elliott? Because they don't get dollar for dollar on their story. They get 3 to 5 times their story. So if they can convince you there's $100,000 of profit in their business, it's not there. You don't pay them $100,000. You pay $300,000 to $500,000. So the malicious stuff, let's go through some of the real details that people probably want to hear more about. So if there's more icing than cake, so like you got, negative net income
Yep.
and, $1 million of ad backs. And so the whole thing is an ad back, particularly if they haven't kept good records. I had one client over the summer who called me and said, "Hey, Elliott, this is great business. I know they're doing like 20% margins, but the guy hasn't reported any profit to the government in 3 years. And he says he got a bunch of ad backs, but they're in the business somewhere. Can you help me find them?" And I had to tell him, the only way to get those ad backs is if the seller's going to spend the time proving them to you, which means he's got to sit down for a couple of hours. If he won't do it, we can't do anything. You got to run. If the seller tries to change the price or keeps changing terms after the LOI, that's the third time I would tell my client to run.
Now, on this due diligence, this is so fun. When you're looking at a deal, and let's just say the purchase price, you say sub $5 million, right?
Yep.
That's your sweet spot. All right, let's just say marketing company, $3 million I'm looking to acquire.
Yep.
And we're looking through this, and that's the current price on the table.
Yes.
Okay. And we're looking through stuff, and you're like, "Hey, Josh, actually, this thing's worth like 6." Like, what are some things, like for me, a deal guy, what are some things that I might see an opportunity where the business is massively undervalued?
Sure. So if the buyer has a mechanism to unlock huge value because of their knowledge or relationships. So in your marketing company situation, let's say somebody has been a small business consultant for 20 years and wants to go buy a company, right?
Yeah.
So they've got relationships with hundreds of small businesses that don't do marketing well. And they're go buying a $3 million agency, and they've got a Rolodex of just hundreds of companies that already trust them, that they've probably been inside those companies and saw that marketing stinks there. And now they're going to buy a company that can service their whole Rolodex. Mm-hmm. Huge opportunity. Or if it's relationships. So say you're dealing with a distribution company and they're doing industrial distribution, long, truckloads up and down the East Coast. And the person's parents or uncles or friends own a company that needs distribution. And so now you buy a trucking company that may be $3 million, but you're going to be able to unlock, tens of millions of dollars of contracts. Yeah. Those are 2 times. Another time, there's oftentimes sellers who have been just running lifestyle businesses and have just missed obvious efficiencies because they've probably been being a great dad or wife or parent. And so
deep in the weeds of the business.
Yeah, they haven't been in the weeds, they have enough money to live. And so you look at a business that has, say a $3 million deal, let's just say it's, a little bit under $1 million in cash flow. And you already see, $300,000 of cost or profit efficiencies. So if you were to put that on top and do the same multiple, you'd almost, double the value or close to it. Those are the times when, a $3 million deal can turn into a $6 million deal.
Yeah. What kind of deals do you love looking at? So you're looking at thousands of deals, but like I put one in front of it that you're like, your eyebrows raise. You start going, "Oh man, this is interesting. Maybe I want to get involved."
I love trash and waste businesses. I like those blue collar nasty ones that nobody wants to deal with. And I tell people all the time, I looked at like a portable toilet rental company, which is really like a reverse distribution business, right? Because you're pulling the poop from the place and bringing it back, as opposed to taking the poop from your place and putting it out in the units. So a distribution business should make like 10, 12% margins. These things sometimes make 20, 25% margins. So it's just a truck hauling something, but you have like 40% higher margins because it stinks what you're hauling. I also like medical service companies. So durable medical equipment particularly. So there's like, kind of like stores. You might see some of the stuff in the back of a CVS or the back of a Walmart, but there's certain stores that like will get like 20 different types of wheelchairs, or when you're snoring too much, Josh, or maybe I am, you got to go get a CPAP or a PPAP. Your grandmother keeps slipping in the bathroom. Somebody needs to put like a bar on the side. They do all that stuff, and I just love them because, Amazon's not going to do well with your grandmother on the bar for the bathroom or the wheelchair specificity. And so I think those are some businesses that have stickiness on a local basis. And then medical just generally is going to continue to grow. So those are two where I'm like, ooh, I
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. That's fun. So, you said I snore, man. I do snore sometimes. My wife she'll hit me. She'll shut up, man. I'm
Yeah.
trying to sleep. I'm getting old. That's what
I was
happens
on a
when you
ski trip and like a
laugh
third
more.
of the dudes have whatever CPAP or PPAP machines to kind of help them out because man, it's like a
A
it's like
train.
a bad jazz band at night, man. It's
Yeah. Hey, speaking of jazz and music, all right. So you and I do this huge deal. We
yep,
tackle this septic clean out business or waste removal, poop removal, whatever business. We crush it,
yep.
and we're gonna go celebrate. And we get to go watch a live performance, any band in the history of mankind, alive or dead. You and I get to see them live. Your choice. Front row seats, backstage passes.
Prince, easy for me,
Yeah. What's your favorite
easy.
song from Prince?
Ooh,
And why him?
I would die for you.
Okay.
I love how it comes off at the end of Purple Rain, the movie, and he's got a struggle that I think a lot of people can understand. Some parental stuff that's funky and messing up in relationships, and I love like public displays of affection where you know who you're talking to, but like the world may not know.
Yeah.
And then Prince was just wicked smart. Like when he changed his name to a symbol to get some power and leverage around his music rights, and getting his masters. And so, man, like a backstage situation with Prince.
You hang out with Prince.
Yes.
Very
Soul.
cool. R.I.P. R.I.P. Prince.
R.I.P. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you and I are gonna go take a look at some deals to knock down. When do you get involved in a deal? Do you have any personal holdings? Because you said that when you were in private equity, you said the way to actually grow and expand your own personal is through equity. What
Yep.
kind of things are you invested in, or are you not?
Sure. So as a small business owner, I'm heavily invested in my business, growing it, helping more people, and in turn doing well for myself. I'm also invested in technology broadly. I know technology's had a bad year, but I think there's no, uh, it's unbeatable.
Yeah.
So I'm doubling down. I'm buying the dip. I have some small crypto holdings as well, and then I'm getting more into real estate as a balance for my professional service company. My MBA knowledge recognizes that professional service companies can just ebb and flow in terms of not every year is going to be as good as your best or as bad as your worst. So transferring some of my earnings into real estate, I'm working on a couple of rehabs, is fun because the volatility there is a bit less.
Yeah. All right. You and I have another big deal, and you get to go buy something. I
Yeah,
don't care how much it is or what it is, but it's something that would be meaningful to you. These are deep questions, right? Like this isn't
I
just
love
about the
them.
deal, right?
I love them. Man, so I'm thinking of something that would really put me in front of a lot of my friends in like a cool way.
Yeah.
So like the New Jersey Nets and like Jay-Z's connection to that and hip hop and the black outfits just immediately came to me. If I had more time to think, I may have been something else. But like a box seat there, because so many of my friends are in New York or travel through it.
Yeah.
It's like a place where I could just be like, hey, just come to the box. We're watching the Nets play. You got KD out here scorching folks, kick back a couple of brews. It would be like a gift that would give me joy. You probably see that pattern with me. If I can put $1 out there and get $5 worth of joy, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Word. What does the future look like for you, for your, guardian due diligence business? What does that look like for you?
I want to be the biggest, baddest diligence provider for self-funded searchers, entrepreneurs through acquisition, um, regular business buyers the world's ever seen. I mean, I want to be the go-to, and in a lot of ways, I already am the go-to solution for first-time buyers who want to buy a business in a reasonable, efficient way. And I think I'm doing everything in my power to be able to help more folks get deals done, save them from a lot of the pitfalls and all the rest. I mean, I see no end to the growth of this industry. I see more and more people getting into it. I think as technology becomes more pervasive, a lot of these companies are going to be refreshed with technology and have quote unquote second lives, and people are going to need to sort of buy them and then put that technology in them. And I see no reason why, I couldn't be the 400-pound gorilla in this industry,
I don't know if it's ever been put to this, put like that before. I want to be the biggest, baddest due diligence business, right?
That's right.
I love it. I love it because it's a big, hairy, audacious goal. It's super cool, and I don't think anybody who's in the due diligence like field has ever been like, I want to be the biggest and baddest, the 400-pound gorilla, the big brother to walk you guys through so you don't get screwed.
That's it. And I'm glad that you said the word. I try to stay away from it, but that's exactly it. Huge on my homepage, we stop you from buying a bad business.
Yeah.
And it's super cool, man. I mean, I speak in regular language. My clients are regular folks. The sellers are regular folks. And, if you ask me, the biggest, baddest. I don't, there should be a number to it, Josh. I know. I'm saying biggest and baddest.
What do you think would be a good number? Like how many deals or how much in revenue or how many employees? Like what do you think would be cool where you're like, I did it? You and I, all right, here's the picture. 40 years from now, you'll be 78, right? If I did my math correctly, I'm not a math guy.
I think 80. That's right. I was thinking about your question while you were doing the math, so forgive me.
All right. No
so, okay. It would be probably 100 to 150 deals a year, which is not all that far out of reach. I mean, we did almost 50 last year. But I think the way that I know it in 40 years, there's some like OGs in small business acquisition, like Jim Sharp at Harvard Business School, Royce Yukoff and Rick Ruback at Harvard Business School as well, that wrote kind of the quintessential entrepreneurship through acquisition playbook and how to buy a business case consolidation. If people talked about me in that way, like, oh man, if you need help with that, you need to go call Elliott Holland. Like he's the one who's going to know it. Or like, oh no, man, you got to go. If you don't know what you're doing, go take the Elliott Holland class. Like you're going to screw up big time trying to do this on your own. There's only one place to go, and it's Elliott. I think in 40 years, if that's what people say, that's how I'll measure it. Not for the notoriety. It can be tough to be able to deliver huge value to a customer base, and enough people know about it so they don't get screwed because they haven't found you yet. Yeah. And so for me, the ability to be known for something is more so I can help more people.
Yeah. Do you have like a specific style of like clothes you wear or hats or watches or something where like people like recognize like, oh man, there's Elliott, like specific shoes? Like what about it?
Yeah. So, because I'm sort of cost conscious on clothes, because I don't like the ROI. I do like fancy t-shirts. So I have like a whole closet full of like fancy t-shirts with like, my favorite musical artist right now is Kendrick Lamar. So I got a bunch of Kendrick Lamar t-shirts. I love the movie Django. I've got a bunch of Django t-shirts. I love all the movies that have really intelligent characters. So I buy shirts that have like those intelligent characters, because being a diligence dude, part of it is kind of being that like Metlock, Sherlock Holmes kind of thing. So if you see people who know me, will be like, he's going to show up in some super cool t-shirt with some character or some saying that you're not going to get at the local mall. You're going to have to find that joker online somewhere.
Yeah. So one of your favorite movies is Django?
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you know that part where Leonardo DiCaprio, he's at the table, everybody's sitting around, and he takes the glass and slams it on the table?
Yes.
Remember that part?
Yes.
He actually cuts his hand, slices it open. So this is one of those things where the camera just kept on rolling and everybody's like, should we stop the camera? So he cuts his hand, and when he grabs that girl's face?
Yeah, that's real blood.
That's real blood, and her reaction is real. Now this might be, you might find me guys out on Snoops or something like that this might be wrong, but I watched it, and I think that's right, because it was like one of those things like, keep the cameras rolling. Her face reaction and like freaking out was real.
One of the things I love about movies and like hearing about how they were made, TV shows or the rest, is those moments. Like there was a moment in Malcolm X where Denzel went off script and just started going outside of what Malcolm X actually said. Yeah. And, Spike and the folks are like, what do we do? This isn't on script. and they kept going, and it's in the movie. And I think that's amazing. And I think there's moments of like, people talk about flow, like being in the flow.
Being in the flow.
And I think sometimes it's hard to get authentic feelings and reactions when it's rehearsed. And so if you can really mix in some real stuff, I think it does create an authenticity that can't be matched.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of flow, have you seen Hustle and Flow?
Yes.
Great movie.
Great movie.
I thought he did a really great job in showing like the pains of going through life. But kind of back to Denzel. I don't think he was in that. Back to Denzel. What's your favorite Denzel movie? You cannot say Malcolm X. You've already used that one.
Oh, Training Day.
Oh, clicks the guns and he's ready to rock and roll. So good.
So I call it like running plays, like when people like set up a strategy in life and then go execute it. Like the way Denzel set up that play on the new recruit. Now I'm not talking about integrity wise. I'm talking about Elliott's enjoyment
strategy.
Wise, right? Yeah. The way he set that up was beautiful. Like, I don't want to ruin it. There's a moment where he takes the dude to a place. And he's having conversation and stuff's flowing. There's too much stuff going on. And the guy misses something major. And it puts the scout in a real bad situation. And I just love that strategy of like, it wasn't like he pushed him, punched him. It's like he put him in a situation where he's going to get set up. And it's like, it's just life sometimes, man. You got to be careful.
Yeah. Well, in that movie, Denzel's the shark.
Yep.
Right? In that movie, he's the shark, because we're talking about deals and sharks and stuff. And he, from the car ride where he's like, here, man, have a sip. Oh, you want to take a hit of this and this and that, right?
Yeah.
And he totally sets him up, but he's the shark in this. And I think we can learn a lot from movies, right? If we take a look at movies, it's the arts. So if you look through Shakespeare, he was trying to teach us about something. If you look at, Denzel and what he's done, and I think he's a great educator through his films, but in that movie, he was the bad guy.
He was the bad guy. And I think the range of Denzel was so cool. And the reason I think he won that award is he's always been like the good guy. Yeah. The sometimes strong, but always sort of favorable Black dude. Outside of Malcolm X, which depending on how you feel about it, I still think that's a positive, happy dude.
Yeah.
It was so interesting seeing him as the shark.
Yeah.
And he played it so well. Like, I'm not scared of you. It's just when you hear that anywhere, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna put cases on all of y'all. It's just, you really feel that. Yeah, he's a great one.
Yeah. He did a great job. I love the way I think he says this in almost every movie. My man.
And I think that authenticity and consistency also kind of gives you, he almost has that like Obama coolness where he's doing his job, then all of a sudden hit you with my man. And you're like, oh man, he's human.
He's cool.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. He's gonna play basketball. All right, let's go.
Yeah. So Denzel, when you're listening to this, major shout out, great actor. We love your films. Back to deals, Elliott.
Sure. I love this.
We're having fun, dude. All right. Yeah. So have you written any books? Do you have a podcast show? Do you have it? I know that you write a lot of blog posts and that you're on a lot of podcast shows. So if there's people in the audience and they're like, man, I want more of your content. I want more of what you got going on. Where could they find that?
Yep. So the best place is go to my website, guardianduediligence.com. My blog's there. A lot of my best videos are there. You'll get connected to my YouTube channel. If you go to the resources and the videos, you'll get to my YouTube channel. Most of my podcasts are there. If you download anything on the site or submit your information, you'll be on my email list. And I'll just tell you, I've spent so much time making that valuable for you without selling. You will enjoy it. That's why my open rates are higher than average by a big piece. I don't have a podcast myself because I enjoy hanging out with new folks. It kind of gives me that variety that I crave. Mm-hmm. I've also written a chapter in a book by Andy Cagnetta, who runs Transworld, if not one of the largest business brokerage firms in the nation. And so it was interesting having a sell side representative, a broker, have a diligence dude, a buy side rep, write a chapter in his book about due diligence. But I'm really proud of that. And the book's called Closing the Deal, which also I love because oftentimes I think diligence is seen as like the anti-deal or the deal killer. But really, I'm trying to expedite people to do good deals and kick bad ones out quickly. Success is my clients getting rich. So that's where you can find me. And, I'd love to have more conversation with whoever is interested in this sort of wonderful world of buying companies.
Yeah, big shout out to Andy Cagnita. Super, super interesting dude, super smart, done a lot of deals.
Andy has that calm, fatherly demeanor where he's strategically doing things that make sense long term. And I love speaking to him. And he's a person. Like, you can tell he's like running a major company, but he's a good person.
Yeah, for real. All right, so we gave a shout out to a few cool people. Denzel, side by side with Andy Cagnita. We were introduced by our buddy John, right?
Yes.
John connected us.
Franbridge Consulting. He helps people who want to buy into non-food franchises. And if that's your thing, go see John.
He's very serious about non-food franchises, right?
I love it. That's his niche. Just like I'm self-funded, first-time buyers. You got to know where your peeps are.
So I'm sure Andy Cagnita and John and me and you stacked up, and we also gave shout-outs to Lamar, Prince, Denzel.
Prince. I was going to say, you can't forget Prince.
I won't forget Prince, dude.
And then Dale Carnegie with the How to Win Friends and Influence.
What a stack group of VIP players at the table, right?
Right. And someone that, if you're listening to that, you kind of know there's some well-roundedness there.
Yeah. If we got all in a room and created something, that'd be cool. I want to be on a movie with Denzel now. How about you and I do that?
We should, let's call him up. I have his number.
Yeah, text him. Afterwards, we'll three-way call him.
We'll figure it out.
What question on the Deal Scout should I have asked you that I completely screwed up and didn't ask you during this interview?
Yeah, one that's cool. What's the best way to assess a deal or more broadly a business opportunity?
Yeah.
And this was some of the simplest but most useful advice I ever got from the first private equity person I ever cold called to get a lunch. And that person ran me up and down the wall, but they told me, if you want to assess a business opportunity, think about profitability, growth, and ownership. And at the time, I wasn't smart enough to realize how prolific that was. But if you think about how public stocks are valued, that's it: profitability, growth, and you own a share. And if you're looking at any of the businesses we've discussed, look at profitability, growth, and then how much of it can you buy. And what's brilliant about it, it's the same way public stocks are valued. It's the same way you should look at private companies you're going to acquire. In an ideal world, you'd have something where you can buy 100% of it. It's very profitable and it's growing fast, right? Mm-hmm. That's like SaaS, which is why their value is so high. And so when you're across the board, HVAC, plumbing, you want to look at profitability, growth. And that gets you out of sometimes the minutia of 28 frameworks and 45 comp sets. And just look at that. If you feel comfortable about those things, you'll make good decisions.
Keep it simple, silly. Profitability, growth, and ownership, right? That's the best way to look at a deal. All right, one more time, Elliott. Where's a good place where people can give you a shout out, reach out to you, and do a deal with you?
Sure. GuardianDueDiligence.com or Elliott Holland. Just Google it, ELLIOTT. You can also find me on Twitter, Elliott E. Holland. I share some pretty cool stuff there. And if you get into my website and sort of download something, you'll get into my emails and into the community, and we'll have some fun. So please don't be shy. My contact information is also on the site, so you need to get me my cell phone and email directly, or they're on the site.
Yeah, and as always, you could always go down into the show notes, fellow listeners, fellow deal makers, and you could connect directly to our guest. Say, hey, man, heard you on the Deal Scout. Reach out to our guest, say thank you, and then find a way to do a deal together. Wow, that was hard to say when I tried to say it really fast.
Yeah, we say deal so often, and then do is like, that's the DO do versus mine is the DUE do. So I get it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So fellow deal makers, if you're working on a deal and you need someone to, take a look at it and maybe be your guardian, head on over to Elliott's site and take a look at what he's doing, maybe engage with him. If you're working on a deal that you want to talk about here on the show, head on over to thedealscout.com, fill out a quick form, get you on the show next. Till then, talk to you all on the next episode. See you guys.